Going to the jeweler, bust the AP, yeah. Sliding on the water like a jet ski, yeah. I'm tryna fuck you and your bestie, yeah. Chopper with this girl, so do not test me, yeah. Ric Flair drip, go woo on a bitch. 5790, spent the coupe on my wrist. $multi-million, I'm a fool with the hit. Hop up in the lemon, drop the roof, show the tits. Poppin', but you really not gon' shoot. 90 pointers, time my diamond look like hula hoops. Hoppin' my Bentayga in the seats of my suits. Balenciaga, check my purse with Valentino boots. It's the woman out of way, a lot of them, a lot of race. Never hesitate to give a nigga yellow tape. And worry about the bag, cause the cash accumulate. Soon as we came in the game, all these niggas, they imitate. Put my mind on it, then I put my grind on it. Put the iron on them if a nigga my opponent. My code 500, I don't put no miles on it. I was running wild, homie, with 500,000 on me. Going to the jeweler, bust the AP, yeah. Sliding on the water like a jet ski, yeah. I'm tryna fuck you and your bestie, yeah. Chopper with this girl, so do not test me, yeah. Ric Flair drip, go woo on a bitch. 5790, spent the coupe on my wrist. $multi-million, I'm a fool with the hits. Hop up in the lemon, drop the roof, show the tits. Put my finger, got the game with me. Bought my purple ticket, got some brain on it. Nigga, we used to kick it, how you hang on me. Hop in the Bentley coupe and blow the brains out of it. We not the same, my nigga, we funding off the vision. And with your brain, yeah, we bought you like it's an auction, ain't it? Get the chopper, 100 round total, like it's a car collision. I made this your man that told the millions, I had to get it. Want you to be begging, please, you ready to whack a nigga. Gave a nigga a dummy, I had to cap a nigga. I'm giving your whole away like she a rapper, nigga. We get added, then we go pay with the fastest scriptures. Going to the jeweler, bust the AP, yeah. Flying on the water like a jet ski, yeah. I'm tryna fuck you and your bestie, yeah. Chopper with this girl, so do not test me, yeah. Ric Flair drip, go woo on a bitch. 5790, spent the coupe on my wrist. $multi-million, I'm a fool with the hits. Hop up in the lemon, drop the roof, show the tits. Going to the jeweler, bust the AP, yeah. Sliding on the water like a jet ski, yeah. I'm tryna fuck you and your bestie, yeah. Chopper with this girl, so do not test me, yeah. Ric Flair drip, go woo on a bitch. 5790, spent the coupe on my wrist. $multi-million, I'm a fool with the hits. Hop up in the lemon, drop the roof, show the tits.
Hey, I got muscles like Superman trainer. Ay, real rare like Super Saiyan Mega. I jump, stomp on Lucifer's stage. Now I got a few rings on Jupiter skating. I meant to say Saturn, switched up the pattern. Smoking on some shatter, got me higher than a ladder. Thanks, I'm flattered, my baby mama batter. You look like Mick Jagger, oops, a grease splatter. Hot, woo, jumping out the grease. It's a whole lot of degrees. About to come about the fleece. Please. Shh, I don't wanna hear a beat. Trying to catch some sleep. Trying to count some sheep. Hot damn, hot water, hot shower. Hot Atlanta smoking green cauliflower. Tangerine, yeah, I call it sweet and sour. And my lawyer say it's urgent, I'ma call him in an hour. Dude, I just called a plug and his phone was unplugged. I was looking at Doug like, ooh. Dude, that shit don't even make no fucking sense. Like having fucking arguments for paying 50 extra cents for barbecue. Saucing on the workers at McDonald's. I don't wanna sit and argue. Good burger should've taught you we all dudes. And I'm all professional and proper, but my baby mama stopped me in the meetings just to airdrop me some news. Hot damn, hot water, hot shower. Hot Atlanta smoking green cauliflower. Tangerine, yeah, I call it sweet and sour. And my lawyer say it's urgent, I'ma call him in an hour.
Yeah, hot on the flight, Louis V off-white. I just made a dub and she tryna spend a night. Heard they need more, yeah, my jeans Dior. Shawty got cake if you tryna eat more. Think they need more, I think they need more. This is second round, I'm tryna speed more. Going stupid, going crazy. Big gas in that Mercedes. Pull up lit, going 30. Pull up big, in a hurry. Shoot your shot, flex a lot. Big cheese, hella nice. Chop and screw, Michael Watts. Point them out, air I'm out. Get me right, sippin' Sprite. 180, half pipe.
Ooh, hot damn, hot water, hot shower. Hot Atlanta smoking green cauliflower. Tangerine, yeah, I call it sweet and sour. And my lawyer say it's urgent, I'ma call him in an hour.
Goddamn, think I got a new lawsuit. I need to come see you. What's that? I got a new whip, you know what a car do? Turn your bitch to an eater. She say we don't got enough room to get freaky in here, cause it's just a two-seater. Am I still considered a trick if I get her a hoopty and buy me a beamer? I had a new case, but the judge had to throw it out. My lawyer beat it like Tina. I always find a way to get ahead with my intelligence when they critique my demeanor. Today I'll dress up a Republican. What else? And go get some hair from a white man's daughter. Her lips aren't big, but I'm loving it. I'll get it fake ID, I make loving it. BDBNT like the government. What? Except for the cops. Mission impossible. Start with a Glock, then a Glover. Tip 100 if you let my cousin in. You know everybody my cousin. Oh yeah, and I gotta be thugging it. Cause my hair can get nappy as fuck or wear jewelry and I got that chocolate coloring. Well, at least, like, you know, that's what they make me feel like. Why they make you feel like that? I don't know. I mean, it's America, right?
Hot damn, hot water, hot shower. Hot Atlanta smoking green cauliflower. Tangerine, yeah, I call it sweet and sour. And my lawyer say it's urgent, I'ma call him in an hour.
Shalom, shalom, shalom. How are we doing, chat? Welcome to yet another week of Pnpt Live. We are in week 11. I can't believe that. It feels like time is absolutely flying, my friends. So, welcome to another week. We're going to be covering Active Directory this week. We've got quite a bit to cover, so we're going to hop into it pretty quick. As always, you guys want to know what I'm drinking today. I'm going to throw you for a loop. Microsoft Security Energy Drink. I bet you will not see that anywhere else. It's actually pretty decent. It's a little bit on the sour side. If you ever had a Ghost Energy, that's what it tastes like. They sent me some energy drinks. They sent me a lot of cool stuff. This blanket that's in my lap that I'm freezing. I've got a chair, a fridge, all kinds of stuff they sent me for writing a blog. So what do you know? A Microsoft Energy Drink. Bet you didn't have that on your bingo board today. So I'm going to go ahead and flip it over to our screen. And welcome to day 21. Day 21. And we are going to be covering Active Directory. But before we do, we have a sponsor for today's stream. This live stream is brought to you by IT Pro TV from ACI Learning. Whether you're new to the IT field or a seasoned pro, IT Pro TV's online IT training courses can help you change your life with access to IT training videos, virtual labs, and certification practice tests. If you want to learn more, visit itpro.tv and you can use code ITPRO2022 for 30% off. Easy breezy, beautiful cover girl. Thank you, IT Pro TV, for the sponsorship. And that was a tongue twister of a reading. All right. So, what are we going to be covering today? We're going to be covering IPv6 attacks. We're going to talk about gaining shell access. We're going to look at reviewing attack strategies. We're going to talk about passback attacks, one of my favorites. We'll talk about pass the hash and pass the password attacks, and then token impersonation, time pending. I don't think we'll get to token impersonation today. We'll see how far we get, but I've got quite a bit of stuff to cover and never enough time. So Now, with that, few things on the side notes. First and foremost, no class on 9/7 or 9/9. That's September 7th, September 9th. That means next week I will not be here. I'm sure many of you will still show up and say, where is he at? Well, I've told you 3 weeks in a row now. Again, we will not be streaming next week. So enjoy the downtime, get caught up, do whatever it is that you need to do in order to be ready for the following week. All right. Now, today is the last day to buy the non-expiring Pnpt. If you have not been tracking, we are expiring the Pnpt due to certification purposes with other certification boards, and we need to require that you do continuing education credits. We have posted that on our website, continuing education credits. The renewal period is going to be a 3-year period with 40 credit hours. Okay, this tells you all the different things that you can do to earn credits, including writing up Try Hack Me or Hack the Box or Pen Tester Labs, doing blog posts, community engagement, all kinds of stuff, even doing continue learning and doing other certifications, et cetera, et cetera. Tons of ways to renew. You can do it completely free. There's no renewal fee. We are just trying to get certified so that way we can be more accessible. So today is the last day to purchase if you want a non-expiring voucher. You do not have to take the exam today. You just have to have it purchased by today. So with that out of the way, back to the handy dandy PowerPoint. I am not going to be doing any Q&A. Full disclosure, I am on 2 hours of sleep, so I need to take a nap after this, and I have been studying all night for my QSA exam that I'm taking on Sunday. So on top of everything else that I'm doing in my life, so no Q&A today. With that out of the way, we're going to go ahead and start talking about IPv6 attacks. All right. Now, let me get my handy dandy pen out. So when we talk about IPv6 attacks, we are going to be thinking about a network. When we're in our network, we usually have something like, and please forgive my handwriting, but we usually have something like IPv4, right? Most computers on most networks are running IPv4, so we'll just have IPv4 here. We'll make this a little computer, whatever you want to say. And we are doing DNS over IPv4. The issue is that by default, IPv6 is enabled. But we don't think about IPv6 because we mainly don't use it. We don't think about using it. Our networks aren't really big enough, and most companies don't really even do anything. They just plug and go out of the box, and they've got DHCP, they've got their IPv4. What do they need IPv6 for? All right. Now, if we wanted to do something malicious, we could, in theory, I'm going to make a little smiley face. This is us. We could become an IPv6 DNS server. All right. IPv6. So IPv4 is routing to the domain controller or whatever is doing the DNS. We can sit in the man-in-the-middle position and route IPv6. And then we can route that to the domain controller and do relay attacks, all right? So we can do what is called LDAP relaying or LDAP-S relaying, okay? LDAP. This is very hard to write with a mouse. We could do LDAP-S relaying, among other things, to the DC. So basically what's going to happen is we're going to sit man in the middle. We're going to use a tool called Man in the Middle 6 or MITM6. We're going to relay events that occur, similar to kind of like we saw with Responder and SMB Relay. We're listening for different events. The issue here, the difference here is that we're going to be a DNS server. So we're going to be saying, hey, I am your DNS. Send me all your information, including your LDAP stuff, and I'll just go ahead and pass that on for you. Now, this is going to be something that is potentially dangerous to a network, and we'll talk about that. But really, ideally, we're going to run this in very short sprints, like 5 minutes or less. We're going to see, hey, does something occur? If it occurs, great. If not, okay, we'll come back maybe in 20, 30 minutes and run this again. The issue I've seen with running this attack is that I've seen networks slow down, or I've seen services break because we don't know for sure what's going to happen when we take over DNS. Right. So if there's some applications and services act very weird when IPv6 is taken over in the network. So something to think about. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and clear this, and we're going to talk about this in more detail. So we are going to use, again, a tool called MITM6. It should already be on your attacker machine. I ran through this last night. Everything seemed to be working fine. So here we're going to set up the attack scenario. All right. So we are on our attacker machine. And so in here, I want to do a couple things. First of all, I'm going to run man in the middle 6. So I'm going to say sudo mitm6. And all we have to do is give it a domain. So the domain I'm going to give it is marvel.local. And with that, we're also going to run ntlm relay x. All right, so ntlm relay x.py. We're going to give it a -6 for IPv6. We're going to give it a -t for a target. So, and our target is going to be LDAP-S. Now, you should already have LDAP-S installed, or your certificate installed from the original lab install. If you do not, this is not going to work for you today. We're going to point this at the domain controller. So my domain controller is at 192.168.138.132. I did reboot my machine right before we started this back up. So I'm going to confirm that really quick with you guys. You should confirm your domain controller as well. I'm just going to log into my domain controller. All right. And we're going to come in here, and we're just going to do a command real quick. Looks like my settings reset. Unfortunately, my screen resolution reset. I am at 132. Let me make this a little bit bigger. Rebooting ruins everything, I swear. Okay, 175. The old man views. There you go. Okay, so my IP is 132. So for here, we'll make this full screen. You should have 192.168.138.132, whatever your domain controller is, because that's what we're relaying to. We're going to do WH because we're going to set up a WPAD. We can just set up anything here. I'm just going to call this marvel.local, wpad.marvel.local. And then we're going to have a loot file, and I'm going to call that loot me. All right, so yours should look like this. I'm going to give you a second. Take a drink, and we'll go from there. So your NTLM relay should look something like this. I'll actually just paste this in the chat to save a little bit of time. And then I'll also paste the mitm6 command right here. All right. All right. So these two should be running. Now I'm going to go ahead and run man in the middle 6. And I'm going to also go ahead and run NTLM relay. You can see that it starts spoofing based on what it sees. Like it sees a desktop, that's my computer. As these log into the network, it'll start identifying more. Here, we're going to go ahead and just start this relay up. It's already attacking a target because it's getting some traffic from my computer, I believe. But what I'm going to do, and what you should be doing, is you should come into your machine. Punisher machine's fine. I'm going to go ahead and reboot this. And then we're going to log in. So we're trying to trigger an event. But what's crazy about this is an event is simply somebody logging into the network. All right. So when somebody logs in, an event occurs, and depending on what that user is or who that user is, based on their permission settings, will allow us to see different things or do different things with this attack. So we're going to go ahead and let that run. All right. And then we're going to come in here, and now hopefully nothing's happened yet. Let me take a look over here. Okay, so we're seeing some assigning happening. So basically what happens is, I believe every 30 minutes, don't quote me on this, it looks for an assignment here. So we're getting assigned this now because we rebooted. We reset our assignment for IPv6. So now it's getting assigned here, and we are being the DNS server for that machine. Now what's going to happen is we're going to come in here. I don't think anything should have relayed yet. Actually, the machine did relay already, it looks like. And it looks like it dumped domain info. Okay. So the machine itself has relayed. We haven't logged in. We haven't done anything. We just successfully relayed the machine itself. So I was going to log in. If you're not seeing this, that's fine. If you want to trigger this event and you're not seeing it, you can just log in as Frank Castle. He's not a domain administrator, and that's perfectly okay. What you want to see here is that we have the succeed, and then we have this information dumped into the loot directory. All right. So pretty crazy attack. We've done nothing, and it's already providing stuff for us. So what we're going to do in this situation is we're going to come back in here, and we're going to, I'm actually going to minimize this. This is kind of messing with me. We're going to come in here, and we're going to come to our directory we're in, which this should just be our home directory, right? This loot me folder is generated right here. Now within this loot me folder, there's all kinds of cool stuff that's in here. I don't know if I can make this view any bigger. Let's zoom in. Look at all this. Like, we've got domain computers, we've got domain groups, we've got domain policies, domain trusts, domain users by group. This is a dump of the entire domain information based off of a computer restarting in the network. Based on a computer restarting in the network. All right. So this is wild. And we come in here and we just open this with Firefox. So I'm going to look at the domain users by group. And now look at this. This is kind of the fun stuff. Okay, so I could see who the administrators are, who the domain admins are. Remember that SQL service that I told you? I said, hey, a lot of domain administrators will put the password of a service into the description. Here's why that's a terrible idea. A terrible idea. Because without any authentication, without anything on my end, I am able to see the description of every single account within this network. All right? Wild. I am able to see who the domain admins are. These are my targets now. Administrator, Tony Stark, SQL service. I'm coming after them. I could see, hey, these passwords don't expire. That's really bad. I could see when the last password was changed on. Interesting, when the last password is set. All kinds of information available to me. Who are the domain users? I could see that as well. All right. There's a lot in here. Looks like I left behind a user during one of my attacks. Shouldn't have done that. But we'll go clean that up in a little bit. So this tells us all the information we may need. It's amazing. Okay, so that was just a regular user. Now, why do we go ahead and why don't we look at this from a different direction? So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and try to log in. This may or may not create an event. We may need to reboot one more time. Okay, let's say la-di-da, the administrator at marvel.local on the Punisher machine or whatever machine logs in. All right. So we've got, it can't be the domain controller. It cannot be the domain controller because we're relaying to the domain controller. Here, though, what if a domain admin logs into a machine? Okay, we'll see if anything happens. The demo gods with IPv6, very difficult to replicate sometimes in a lab environment, but we're going to do our best. It actually worked. Okay, so let's scroll up. So this is a great thing when you see this. So what happens is, let's go all the way up to the first connection. All right, so what we got here is you see hey, Marvel administrator succeeded against an LDAP attack on the domain controller. Now what it's going to do is it's going to come in here and create an access control entry for us. Pretty cool. Also, it's going to create a new user for us. Let's see where it does that. Here it is. look, adding new user with username. Okay, here's the new user. I'm going to copy that. I'm going to replace this here from my practice attack. And we've got a password here of this, right? Make sure you copy this down. We're going to play around with this later. I'm not going to show you all the cool stuff it can do yet. But look, they're changing permissions. It's adding replicate, get changes all permission. We can use a DC sync attack. We don't know what that is yet. With secret stump, we don't know what that is yet either. It gives you a restore file to change your access control list back when you're done. Okay, and it creates a user for you in enterprise admins. What in the world? It's awesome. All right, it's awesome. So it's going to keep doing it. It'll say like, hey, I've already added a user. This is a newer feature, by the way. It used to just continuously add users, which was annoying. So here we're going to go ahead and just Control C. I'm going to end this, and I'm going to end this here. Again, we want to run this for 5 minutes, no more than 5 minutes at a time, okay? Because think about all the hosts and machines that you're going to be IPv6 for. You have no idea what that's going to do to a network, all right? Anyway, so let's take a look at the domain controller and have a view at what just happened. If we come into here and we go to Tools and we go to Active Directory, Users and Computers. Okay, we added this user. I believe it's the MJ user. I'm going to delete this so we don't get confused. At least let me double check that before I actually hit delete. I don't have the credentials for the other one. We added the MJ user. That is correct. So we're going to go ahead and delete this guy. We have this MJD, whatever. It's just a jumbled name. This creates a user for you. While it says the member of is a domain user, it's not a domain admin. I promise you, this has complete domain control. Okay, we have compromised, believe it or not, compromised the domain controller within 5 minutes. All we did was relay a credential of an administrator. It's wild. It's one of my favorite attacks of all attacks out there. So let me go ahead and we're going to talk about did the demo. Let's talk about strategies here. We'll talk about the mitigation, and then we'll talk about the strategies, and the credentials that we found will come into play later. So at this point, we have mitigation strategies. Just take a screenshot of this. Don't try to memorize this to heart. Essentially, look, if we disable IPv6, we can completely prevent this attack. All right. But disabling IPv6 is not necessarily a great thing. It can have unwanted side effects. So we're just going to instead add some block rules instead of allow rules for different things with our settings, right? So here are those rule sets. We ideally want to disable a WPAD if we're not using it. We want to disable the relaying of LDAP and LDAP-S with LDAP channel binding. I've never seen this enabled in a network. Not saying it's not out there. I've just never seen it done. You can also add users to the protected users group, which a lot of admins don't do either. So your sensitive users should go into a protected users group. They can't be delegated. We haven't talked about a delegation attack quite yet, but that's also something that we can do with IPv6. There's a lot of different attacks that we can do. There are some great articles and stuff. I'll link those in our course resources for the week when I put that out on Sunday. All right. But with this, think about this as well. We want to have the strategy of giving tiered accounts, right? Like think about Bob. We talked about Bob last time. If Bob has a domain account and Bob's a domain admin, why don't we just make Bob a Bob's-DA account? And Bob only uses that domain admin account to log into the domain controller and nowhere else. If they were following this and actually following that policy, this attack would not happen. Same thing with a lot of relay attacks, right? These relay attacks require overly permissive settings and allowing us to relay somewhere else. So ideally, we have tiered accounts and people aren't logging in, but this is the full strategy on how you can mitigate this. Turning off IPv6 would be the easiest solution, but could also complicate things incredibly. All right. Now, are we going to gain shell access? Yeah, let's do gaining shell access really quick, and then we'll come back and we'll talk about attack strategies. Okay, so let's go back to our lab environment. Let's get on the Punisher machine. I'm going to make this bigger again, old man font. For old man me and for all you old people out there who complain about the font size. Let's go in and type in Defender. We're going to disable Defender. So if you look for virus and threat protection, it's the best way to do it. I'm just going to come here and disable this. So if we do manage settings, we're going to turn off real-time protection, all this stuff. This is just to show you proof of concept, okay? Some of what I'm going to show you will get blocked. We'll talk about it. And then we'll talk about other strategies, alternatives, what gets detected, what doesn't get detected, all right? So I'm just showing you potential things that you should look for and why you should do what I'm going to tell you to do. There's a method to the madness, all right? So now we have it disabled on the Punisher machine. We don't really need to worry about Spider-Man. You can just leave it paused if it is paused. I'm going to come back, and now we're going to talk about gaining shell access. And in order to gain shell access, we have a few different ways that we can do that. One way is through Metasploit. Metasploit is going to be the most detected method. And then we have some in-packet tools from our toolkit. We have SMB exec, WMI exec, PS exec. We'll talk through that as well. I'm seeing some people say evil WinRM. WinRM has to be enabled in order for this to happen. So Windows Remote Management is not always enabled. I'd say more times than not, it's actually not enabled. So these are the go-to first things first strategies. All right. So here, we're going to go ahead and say something along the lines of MSF console. Let's get into Metasploit. We'll take the Metasploit route first, and then we're going to talk about the in-packet toolkit and see what it can do as well. Okay, so once Metasploit loads, what I want you to do is just type search PS exec, something like that, all right? And you're going to get a lot of options here. You're going to see like, hey, MS17010, that's Eternal Blue. We're not really after that. We're going to be after this exploit Windows SMB PS exec. Now, the majority of what we do internally with internal networks and Active Directory revolves around SMB. We need port 445 to be open for a lot of the attacks. And thankfully, in a Windows Active Directory environment, they almost always are. So we're going to go ahead and take a look at that here. And we're just going to go ahead and say use for. Okay, and it's going to default to a reverse interpreter shell. That's fine. What I want to do is I want to type in options. And what we're going to look for is a few things. We've got our R host. So we need the R host for the machine of Frank Castle. I believe mine is 145. So I'm just going to set that. So we're going to set our R host 192.168.138.145. We need to set our SMB user. I can see that. So set SMB user to fcastle. Now we're going backwards a little bit. So what we're doing is we're taking the credentials from last time. Remember, we performed responder attack, right? We did LM&R poisoning. We gathered a hash. We took it offline and we cracked it. And we found that Frank Castle's password was password 1. What are we going to do in a situation where we get a password? How are we going to use that in a network? All right. So here we've got our user of fcastle. We've got SMB domain, SMB pass we have to worry about as well. So we set SMB pass to password 1. We set SMB domain to marvel.local, something along those lines. Okay. And now if we look at this, let's just do options again. That should all be set. So we've got Frank Castle, we've got password 1, marvel.local, we've got the correct IP address. This payload of Windows Meterpreter Reverse TCP is a 32-bit payload. So I'm actually going to go in here and I'm going to say set payload to Windows x64 Meterpreter. Hopefully, okay, reverse TCP, something like that. Because we know we're up against a 64-bit, this is going to be easier than having to migrate a process, which we haven't talked about yet. We'll get into way later. At this point, we want to use the respective payload for what we're up against. So if you're seeing Windows 10 or even Windows 7, very good chance it's going to be 64-bit over 32-bit. So this defaults to 32-bit, just a heads up. You can type options again. All right. And then we're going to do a show targets. So I've told you about the, hey, let's do show targets methodology and try to get you into that habit. The reason is that a lot of times they have an automatic, but there are other targets sitting beneath this, right? So for this one, I don't have a lot of success with PowerShell. Native upload or MOF can work for me. So this is just from experience, but I'll usually just like set target to 2, something like that. And then I'll hit options. And what happens here, by the way, is if you run this and for some reason it doesn't kick back or it doesn't work, like it tries to go through, but it fails, a lot of times it will tell you, Metasploit will tell you and say, hey, we failed because virus detected us, like antivirus blocked us. Perfect. We know, okay, we're up against antivirus. If it just fails because it failed, maybe we don't have a great payload. Maybe we don't have the right target set. So we might need to play around with those things in order to get this to work. All right. So in this sense, we're going to start with Metasploit. Now, Metasploit is the most detected by far. There's nothing special about this. It is great for command and control if you can get it. If there is a decent antivirus on there, it will block this, though I have seen plenty not block this. So your mileage may vary. But I do like to try Metasploit, 1, for command and control, and 2, because I want to trigger antivirus. I want to trigger an alert. Again, it's all about, pen testing is not about stealth. Everybody goes on and on about stealth, but what we are doing is we are trying to help our client determine what are they detecting and what are they not detecting. So I will run this to see, can they see me? If they can't see me, guess what? That's getting written up in the report. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and run this. See if it works. Hey. All right. So we've got a Meterpreter shell. All right. So let's see if we can type help. All right. Help will tell you what we have available to us. We have not played around with Metasploit yet. Look at all these things that we can do. Okay. So now we have command and control of this machine. We have a lot of cool things that we can do. From this command line here, we can do like a, hey, get UID. It'll tell us what user we are. We should be system, authority system, I think. We'll see. We can take a look at different upload command. Do like, hey, I want to read content. I want to download. I want to put a file. I want to make a directory. We can do that all from within this Meterpreter shell. All right. We don't even have to get into the shell if we don't need to or don't want to, but we can go into the shell as well. So from here, we have networking commands. We can do like an IP config. We can do routing. We do port forwarding, especially when we get into pivoting. This could come into play as well. And in here, we can do different system commands. Like we can kill a process if we want to. But let me show you some fun stuff. Let's see. We can do key scans. Like we can do key logging. All right. You can start key logging, stop key logging. We can screen share. We can take a screenshot of the desktop. We can set a desktop. We can look at the person's webcam. We can record their microphone. We can record their webcam. So it's very, very, very scary what it can do. We can play files if we want. The get system command we'll talk about. We can do a hash dump, timestamp. So one thing we could do is like get UID. Okay, so we're authority system. We are the top of the top. So this automatically elevated our privileges for us. We didn't have to do anything. One thing that we can come in here and do is hash dump. So this will dump the SAM hash for this. These are the local accounts when we do a hash dump, all right? So we see the local administrator account. We see Frank Castle's account. Remember that we set him up. And we see a guest. We don't usually worry about, I don't typically worry about default, guest, or WDA, okay? I usually worry about anybody, administrator, and anybody else that seems off, that seems different than the default, okay? So here we could do a hash dump. We can dump into a shell. Like now we're in a shell. We can say, who am I? Host name. We've got a shell on this machine, all right? Same thing. We can control C, exit this with a Y. We're back into our interpreter. We can background this session and go do other things. And then we could just do like sessions and you can see what sessions I have. So when I say for command and control, if we have like 15, 20, 100 machines, we can log into all those machines, get shells on them, and then have command and control over all of those here and manage that while still going and running Metasploit, etc. So you'll see a little bit of that when we get into some of the more advanced stuff, but this is, this is great, a great tool. So this is Metasploit at a very, very high level. We'll get more into Interpreter as we go, but just know that it's powerful. It can do a lot of cool, interesting things beyond just run exploits that we've seen so far, right? Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and we're going to exit out of this. I'm just going to kill this, exit-Y with our sessions open. Okay, where are we at? 12:35. This is going a little bit slower than I expected. So the next thing we want to talk about is our in-packet toolkits. All right. Built into in-packet are some great tools. One is psexec. If you start typing psexec, it should give you a psexec.py. We could do a -- help. And guess what this can do? This can do all kinds of stuff. But here's the general syntax. We can do our domain username. We can give it a password. And then we can give it a target name or address. So basically we could say like Marvel/fcastle, password or password1 at the IP address. And then that will execute this. We can also do a -C and execute like commands if we wanted to, though this is going to give us a command shell. Something crazy that we haven't talked about yet is we don't need a password. If we have a hash, like you saw the SAM dump, if we get a hash from anything, like think about the NTLM relay or think about like secrets dump, which we haven't talked about yet. If we get a hash, we can then just use the hash. We don't need a password. We can use a local account. It's crazy. We'll talk about pass the hash here in just a minute. So we can use this to get a shell without using Metasploit. So we can do something like psexec.py. Okay, and then we can come in here and say marvel.local, or Marvel would be fine, fcastle, password1, and then at your IP address. So mine is 192.168.138.145. All right. We give it a second, and then I'm going to run this. I'm going to take a drink of my Microsoft Security Energy drink. All right. So we just got a shell. And that happened within half a second, right? So again, we can do a who am I, authority system, host name, got a shell here. This is great. Okay, so that's that. You should know about that. Great way to get a shell is psexec. We won't use, look, I'll talk about strategy here in a little bit, but I don't get a shell on a machine unless I absolutely need to, because it will trigger antivirus. So if you're trying to be stealthier using these tools, like psexec will get detected by Defender sometimes. Other antivirus platforms, it won't get detected by a lot of times. I use psexec and have a lot of success, more so than failures with antivirus on this. All right. Now, there are two other tools that are very similar in syntax. One is SMB exec. I don't believe that's going to work in this situation, but it works a majority of the time. And then the other one is WMI exec. It just has to have the settings enabled for those to work. But when they work, they work. All right. And they are like, if PS exec is getting blocked, try SMB exec. Same syntax, same everything. If that's getting blocked or not working, try WMI exec. All of these will give you some sort of shell in one way or another, and you'll be able to at least get on a machine and look around. Something to think about. Use your toolkits. Know about them. Again, we're not going to really get onto machines a lot with Active Directory pen testing. And you might say, well, how the heck do I do a pen test if I'm not getting on a machine? And I will show you. So I will show you. I'll teach you all the cool strategies. All right. But you can do an entire pen test, compromise the domain controller, compromise every machine without ever logging into it. All right. One second. Sorry. If you guys try to get around the attendance filter, you'll just get an instant ban. Pretty much been known since day one. But all right, so we've covered this. Let's talk about strategies really quick, or some alternative strategies. All right. All right, here we go. So let's get back to the handy dandy PowerPoint. Okay, sorry this is blurry. I just took a screenshot and put it in here. So it's a little bit blurry. So when we're doing an internal attack, we're looking at Active Directory pen test. Here's my strategy. I'm going to begin my day with Responder or Man in the Middle 6. You saw how fast Man in the Middle 6 is. Quick win, easy, easy, easy. We're going to try that first, probably. It used to be that you would try Responder, you do your LM&R, you go that route. It's fine. You still want to do that. You still want to test for LM&R, but you can compromise the domain controller within 5 minutes. You might as well try it. Okay. We're also going to do Responder. Again, beginning of the day or after lunch, best times to run it, because what? People are logging into their computers. They are generating traffic. We can also run Nessus scans. We'll run our vulnerability scans first thing in the morning. I like to start up my Man in the Middle 6 or my Responder first. Then I kick off my scans, generate some traffic. Who knows what will happen? If the scans are taking too long and we're trying to enumerate the network, we can use one of the methods I like to do is I like to look for like websites that are in scope. So there's a great built-in enumerator called HTTP version inside of Metasploit. That will search for port 80 or port 443 open and will also pull down a header. It looks like internal traffic is being generated to those websites or those internal web addresses. So it's not as weird as like port scanning. All right. It's just like, hey, we're attempting to go out to that website and access it. So it's a little more stealthy, but it also pulls down websites. And websites are great. Why? Because we might find things interesting on a website. For example, we might find default credentials on different logins, like printers, like Jenkins that you saw before. I've gotten domain admin off of a printer before, and I'll share that story here in just a second. But the idea is to look at everything available to you. If we've got time today, I'm going to talk through a attack that we went through and a different strategy. Like last time we went through a blog post strategy, I'm going to talk through a different one today. Time pending. If not, we'll talk about it next time, where we cover all of these. Hey, let's look for things and think outside the box, because it's not always going to be scan port, find vulnerability, execute, and pivot. A lot of times it's just like, what misconfiguration can you find and how can you put that into the puzzle to get to your overall goal? All right. Okay, so we have to think outside the box, which leads to story time on passback attacks. In order to do that, let's go ahead and take a look at what passback attacks are. There's this great website. I share this in the course, but I'm going to go ahead and just paste this in chat so you guys can have it with you as well. Okay, so this is a guide to printer hacking, and we think about printers, and we say, nothing to worry about with a printer. Okay, so we come in here and we say, okay, what is a passback attack? And the best way to describe that is if we come down just a little bit, we might have something that looks like this. Imagine, let me just make this a little bit bigger. Imagine you are on a pen test and you log into a printer like this with domain, or on the domain with default credentials. You might see something like this LDAP database search settings, where we have a account that has been set up here, and it might have credentials put into it. Like it might look something like this, where it's got like the password, and it's just kind of asterisked out or whatever it might be, and it has the username, and you can't see the password. In this case, what can we do? Well, one thing we can do is we can come back in here and we can test that LDAP connection out. So in this instance, it has the LDAP pointing to the LDAP server, usually the domain controller, and it's going to test that connection. So it has all the user, password, whatever stored here. The interesting thing about this vulnerability is you can set up a netcat listener, or I prefer to use responder. You can use responder and then just point this at your IP address, your attacker IP address, and hit send. And it will come back to you in clear text. Doesn't matter how secure the password is, it will come back to you in clear text. All right? So it's a incredible, incredible attack. It's becoming less and less common, but it's something that that I've seen time and time again, which will lead me into story time. All right. So I was on an engagement once where I was doing a pen test against a smaller organization. For whatever reason, this organization was scoped for 4 hours of pen test time. Never have I ever in my life scoped an engagement for 4 hours of pen test time. Internal engagements need at least 2 to 3 days at minimum to do them justice. For whatever reason, I was scoped for this for 4 hours. All right. So I got into the network, and the network was a mixture of Active Directory and not Active Directory, just like regular computers and such. So getting any traffic was kind of difficult because it was a small office. Because I was up against the clock, I had to start looking at everything that was available to me. So yes, I was running responder. I wasn't seeing any traffic being generated. I was running all the tools that I've taught you so far. But I started looking around the network, and I started looking at the printers and the services and whatever they had available. And I was able to log into a printer with default credentials. On this printer were 2 accounts. Now, the first account was a SMB scanner account, right? Basically, if you're doing it the right way, say you want to go to a printer and you want to scan something to a folder, correct? If I want to scan a document to a folder, most of us have seen this happen in our workspace. That is done via a connection. You scan that, okay, magically an account authenticates, it takes it, puts it in a PDF format or whatever it might be into a share drive. Easy enough. So what will happen is a SMB user, if done right, will be set up. It will have strong credentials. The permissions will be only to access that file share and that file share only. Okay, so if we do relay those credentials or do a passback attack against those credentials, even if we get it, we're still not a domain admin. We don't have overly permissive settings. We just have a user account. Is it bad? Yeah, but is it awful? No, not yet. So in this instance, the credentials are strong. The permission settings were there. Everything was set up correctly, except the second user account was the CEO. And the CEO's his domain user was in there, and his domain credentials were in there, and he was a domain administrator. Why? Why? I don't know. Why does your CEO need to be a domain administrator? Why does he need his own share account? Who knows? Okay, my guess is probably he wanted to scan his documents to his share folder, and only him can access that. So he said, hey, set me up like this. And the IT team didn't know how to set that up properly. So they said, okay, just give me your credentials. I'm going to put them in here. And anytime you scan, just select this account and it'll scan right to your folder. All right. And yeah, so that was an easy pass back attack. I couldn't see the credentials, but we could pass them back, pass back the credentials. Guess what? Domain admin. So I sent them nice little screenshots of their QuickBooks, their accounting software. I sent them screenshots of their domain controller. I sent them like all the things he had access to that really he probably shouldn't. And that was a quick win within 4 hours, right? So the pass back attack is a great attack. It's something about thinking outside the box. Okay, so everything is available to you. All your resources are available to you within a network. Okay, so don't just say, I've got to scan, look for vulnerabilities. That's such a one-way track of mind, and it will get you into a lot of bad situations, bad habits on internal networks. All right. So we got about 10 minutes. Let's go ahead and take a look at what's next. Okay, we'll get into some of this. I don't think we'll be able to get through everything that I anticipated today, which is fine. We'll save the second story time for the next time, but hopefully this has been informative for you thus far. All right. So let's talk about pass the password and pass the hash. Okay, so if we crack a password in a network, or we can dump the SAM hashes, we can leverage both of those for lateral movement within a network. All right. So what do I mean by that? Well, we can use a tool called crackmapexec. This screenshot's a little bit old. The syntax down here is actually correct. This is not. But basically, what if this Frank Castle user had admin privileges to more than one machine? He does, right? We know that because of the relay attack. But what if we didn't know that? What if we just did a LM&R poisoning, we got his password, and then we want to say, okay, what do I do now? Well, we can pass the password. Anytime we pass the password, we can sweep an entire subnet, and we could say, hey, I want to see where that password connects to and where this user has admin access to. In this situation, we'll get a pwned back. All right, pretty awesome. So anywhere he has access to, we'll get pwned back. And then we can also get local hashes and do the same thing. So like I showed you in hash dump, we haven't covered secrets dump yet. We'll cover that soon. But we can do a hash dump. We can grab that user, and then we can pass him around the network as well. So we can just grab a hash, a local user hash, and pass it around the network. It's incredible. All right. So let's take a look at our lab for this. And I think we'll just do, for now, we'll just do the pass the hash. We'll pass the password. We'll say pass the hash for next time. And then we'll get into secrets dump and story time and some of the other fun stuff. And then we'll get into more of it. So, okay, let's take a look at our lab environment. For this lab, we will need machines turned on. So my machines went sleepies. I'm going to go ahead and put them back on. This one's on. And then this is on. That's fine. All right. Okay. So now we can run crackmapexec. If we want to do a pass the password, the syntax looks like this. We say sudo crackmapexec. Should be built in already. We're going to pass over SMB, and we're going to look at our subnet. So I'm in the 138.0/24. I'm going to use a user of fcastle, a domain of marvel.local, and a password of password1. All I'm doing is saying, hey, every machine that's alive in my network, I want to know where this guy can connect to and if I can get any more access to these machines. All right. Okay, type this in. It's going to run. Hopefully the demo gods work for us today, and they do. Okay, so what does this look like? There's only 3 machines in our network, but this will light up like a Christmas tree when we pass this around, okay? I've seen it time and time again with local users and with domain users, and we'll take a look at local users as well. We had a view of it last time when we talked about that weak password, the password 10, and how it lit up everywhere with that password. Same concept. We use CrackMap exec, we pass it around, we see where we get access to. Now, had I known that we had the Punisher machine, hey, now I know we have the Spider-Man machine. So I want to look at what credentials I can find on both these machines, and that is exactly what we'll do. So let's tie this all in. We'll do pass the hash on the next one. But I want to show you secrets dump, and then we'll show one more secrets dump after all this as well. So when I told you that I don't use PS exec to connect a lot, why do I do that? Well, my strategy is actually to use a tool called secrets dump because it allows me to see all the quote unquote secrets on a machine, mainly any passwords that might be available in clear text and any SAM or local user hashes on that machine. It's amazing what you can find. All right. So with that, what we're going to do is we're going to say secrets dump, and the syntax is very similar. We can just do something like Marvel, all right, / something like fcastle password 1, and then we can do at 192.168.138.145 because we know we own that machine, and we also know we own 136, so we can do both of those, right? So I can come in here, run this, and then it just starts dumping out the hashes and secrets in here. So we can come in here, and really what we're after is these local SAM hashes. Occasionally, if we scroll down, we'll see passwords in clear text. There's something called wdigest that will, if it's Windows 7 or earlier, or Server 2012 or earlier, anytime somebody logs in, you get the password in clear text. Now, what you could do as well is you can enable that. It's enabled by default on those systems, but you could enable that on a system, reboot that system, and then wait for somebody to log in, in which case, then you would capture their password in clear text. So if you're trying to sit in the same area, this could work out really well if you're trying to like wait for a domain admin on a machine of some sort. All right. So we did that. I'll also come in here and I will dump out the other machine. I'll dump out all the machines that I have hashes for. Okay. And then I'll copy those and compare those. So I might grab these, like copy, and then just paste this in here. And I might want to see like what is similar, what is the same across the board. Okay. So if I come in here and I say, okay, I've got these users, I don't care about these 3 accounts, and I don't care about these 3 accounts. I want to look at my passwords. Well, this hash is the same as this hash. That tells me these local users have the same password. Okay, so maybe there's a password reuse with this. I might take this password hash and try to pass it around the network as Frank Castle, as Peter Parker, and as the administrator. I see the administrator has the same password. We don't have to know what this password is. We just know the hash is the same. Thus, it is the same password. Thus, we might be seeing local admin reuse. All right. Okay, so we're here, and I'm going to run attendance for the next 5 minutes really quick while we wrap this up. And I'm going to show you one more trick, all right? So attendance is now live. The password is secrets dump. Secrets dump. All right. Okay, so we'll talk about passing these hashes in the next one. Now, I promised that I would show you something something crazy. All right, it all ties together here at the very end. Come in here, delete out your password 1. Okay. Delete out this IP address and change it to your domain controller. 132 is mine. And then I'm going to come in here and I'm going to grab this username of that account that we got with IPv6. Let's prove ownership. Okay. So there's our account we created. It should look something like this. No password, leave it blank, and then hit enter. It's going to ask you for a password. The reason I do this is because look at these, like the quote, single quote, double quote. There's sometimes ampersands. The password's really funky. So I like to just leave this where I can paste this myself and then hit enter. Now we're getting a bad login failure. Let me see what I did wrong. Well, maybe we'll have to do it again. I don't know why that's not working. There we go. I can't copy and paste apparently. Okay, so what did I just do? I just dumped all of the hashes on the domain controller. All of them. This is game over. This is just proof of concept. Look, when we dump these hashes like this, we come in here and we copy all of these, right? We'll copy all these hashes and we'll actually just the user hashes. I won't copy machine hashes. There's no point, in my opinion. So I'll copy all these hashes and I will take them and I will go and try to crack those. You can try to crack these. And that is how we evaluate password strength in an organization. So once we get through the domain controller and we compromise it, we grab the hashes and we start cracking them, because then we can come back to the client and say, hey, we cracked 5% of your passwords. No big deal. Here's the ones. Or I've seen this situation. We've cracked 50% of your passwords. Your password policy sucks. Okay. So it's one of those situations where this is a great way to determine how poor the password policy is or how strong the password policy is. All right. So we're able to grab all this. This KRB TGT is a fantastic account. We'll talk about why it's so great to us. This administrator hash will log you into any computer that you want. You are now domain admin. You can think of the meme from the Captain Phillips. I'm the domain admin now, right? You don't see me, but I'm doing the 2-finger pointing the eyes to the camera thing right now. So you own this domain. And that is what those credentials tied into earlier. It was an immediate dump of this. We would be compromised within 5 minutes. It's not the Kerberos ticket granting ticket. It's the Kerberos ticket granting ticket, but you're very close. Kerberosing is an attack on Kerberos. All right. Yes, the ticket granting ticket is used for a golden ticket attack. You are correct. Some of you are overachievers, and I'm here for it. All right. I have 37 emails. My inbox was empty when I started this stream. 37 emails. Guys, I can't keep up. All right. We'll give it one more minute. I appreciate everybody. Oh, it just bumped up to 40 emails. I appreciate everybody today hanging in there with me. I try to come with as much energy as possible, though I have 0. So we'll see each other again on Friday. We'll cover more of this. Active Directory is kind of my bread and butter. It's my favorite thing to talk about. So we'll get through this and move on to the next thing. But again, no class next week. Make sure you're tracking. And then looks like it's 102. So thank you guys. Matt, thank you again. Matt coming in with the 10 subs again. You're on fire, my friend. Thank you. Thanks everybody for all of the all the subs today. I saw we got to like a level 4 hype train. I don't even know what that is, but thank you for all that. Thanks for the viewers. I appreciate it. And then until next time, I will see you guys later. Peace out.